Hey everybody, this is me, the Undead Viking, and this is Pathogenesis. Pathogenesis is a competitive and cooperative and solo game, you can play it multiple ways, that pits you against, well, a living host, a human body, if you will. You are trying, as an infectious disease, or multiple infectious diseases, trying to attack and destroy this, kind of, well, formless body. There isn't like an actual body on the table or anything like that. But you will proceed to batter down the defenses that the body has, and then once the body recognizes that it's being attacked by you, it'll actually then, the game technically, but the mechanisms of the game will actually start actively trying to destroy you and prevent the pathogens from actually getting purchase and being able to eradicate, well, the life of the body or the person or whatever that you're trying to destroy. Now, obviously, when you're doing it cooperatively, everybody will be working together to defeat the defenses. If it's a competitive game, or like, and that same would be as a solo game. As a solo game, you play solo and just try to defeat the game competitively, but basically you're all racing to do the best job of actually defeating the body. And there is a chance actually that all of you will fail and the game or the body will actually win, and which is something that's happened. But why don't I show you how the game is played, and then we'll come back here and I'll tell you what I think. Alright, cool. This is Pathogenesis, and this, like, here is like going to be what's in the middle of your play area when you're playing the game. This is kind of a neat method of playing a deck building in which you have like your stacks of cards that are going to be available, and these are those right here in this row right here. And like that's kind of like when you set up a game of another like deck builder like a Dominion or a Thunderstone, there's always those basic cards that are always available, and those are those. But it incorporates also this giant deck of kind of random cards, and you have 5 of them set out, kind of like Ascension. Now, if you watched my videos before, I've talked about how in deck building games I really like the giant deck of cards with who knows what's in that, and you kind of watch as those things appear. So I really, really like that that's in there. Alright, so as I said, this game is all about you being this force, this outside force that's trying to infect this body, which, is kind of a grim thing to think about, but just what you're going to be doing is you're going to be having your deck of cards here, and then you're going to, just like a lot of deck builders, you're going to slowly but surely build up your cards ability, your infectious ability to attack the body of this hapless victim, and you're going to be trying to infect them, and, well, theoretically, trying to do them in, if you will. There are these 3 different areas that you can attack. This right here, this is like the tissue area. This would be respiratory, and right here on the bottom, this is the gastrointestinal area. And so you get to attack any of these locations, and when you successfully attack those locations on the body, you get to collect these tokens, and these tokens then are worth points at the end of the game. And that's how you determine who wins. Now, you can play this cooperatively. You can play this teams. I really like playing it competitively, each of you just trying to outdo the other, basically viruses or diseases or whatever, and doing a better job at attacking those things. Now, there's lots of different strategies and things like that I'll talk about a little bit when we get to the final thoughts. But basically what you're going to be doing is like any other deck building game. You start with the same 10 cards. Everybody's got the same 10 cards. You'll draw the top 5 cards, and on your turn, you will have 5 cards with which you'll get to use. Now, the game kind of actually transmogrifies as you play. At the very beginning of the game, the body's just kind of sitting there. They're doing whatever it is they're doing. This like I said, this hapless victim is going about their day because of the fact that the body doesn't really have an active defense until you've actually broken down like their inherent defenses that are always available, just like us. And as we're walking around, and might I add that the designers of this game are, they are well knowledged in the whole process of infectious diseases and things like that. So that's where the basis of this game stemmed from. Each one of these areas on the body has these defenses that are present and available. And in order for you to actually then start collecting these tokens, you need to beat down the 5 cards of each one of these decks, and then you'll be able to go ahead and, start cracking down and gaining points. But the problem is that once you deplete one of these stacks, then the body starts fighting back with immunities and other things, and then they'll attack the pathogens that you've created that you're using to infect the other body. So cards, as you can probably guess, have multiple uses. You can use them basically to purchase things. The purchase ability is right there. All the beginning cards are going to have 1, so these are all worth 1. You could say I'm going to use 5 of these cards. I'm going to use them to buy new cards, and then you can use, and as much as many points as you have to buy, you can just keep buying cards. As always, you can't save those points from turn to turn, so keep that in mind. But then you could just purchase. So if you used all 5, you could say, I really want this toxin, and that's worth 5 right down here in the bottom. And then you would put that in your discard pile. Whenever you take a card out of this row, you then are going to replace it from the top. So just remember that this isn't a situation where there's a specific action that you have to do to replenish it. Some cards that have like this symbol right here, you can use them as the ability to trash all 5 of the cards in the gene pool and then show 5 more. So if you don't like your options, you can use cards like that to do that. And there's a handy little card that kind of tells you what each of the little symbols are. And unlike a lot of deck builders, there aren't like 7 million different things you to worry about. I mean, basically the red triangle is attacks, the little shield blue thing is the defense, the value to buy, draw, so you can just see that like the symbolism in this game is pretty easy to figure out, and it won't be tough for everybody to figure out. But if you need to, obviously you have this cool card. But regardless, so the game progresses pretty normally. Now, when you create a pathogen to attack the body, what happens is that you're going to take a card, like this. And now some of them are going to be purple like this, which means that you are able to attack any of the 3 colors. They're kind of like a wild thing you can attack several different things. However, if you have a card like this, which is a toxin, and they actually have it's a cholera toxin, and they have a cool little background or whatever. This is obviously green, so it has to attack the gastrointestinal area. So just remember, purple is wild. The color that matches the area has to attack that particular area. So if we had this particular card, we can go ahead and put that down. And I should mention that when you have a pathogen and you're building it in front of you, you have to attack. You can't choose not to attack the body. You have to kind of go after the body and try to take it down. So when you put down and you say, I'm going to play this as an attack, what you can do then, because it's a purple one, you can then choose, if you wanted to, in this case, you could attack the blue right here, because this is an attack of 2. The defense of this particular pathogen here is 2. And then you're going to have, you're going to get that. And then, for defeating one of these cards, whatever the defense was, you're going to get 2, or the same number of these genetic tokens. And these are basically one-time use that increase your buy ability. They have the same symbol, and they're worth more. And it should be mentioned that when you play, a multiple-player game, the first player doesn't get, just gets to go first. But the other players get bonus tokens like these, just to kind of give them a leg up as they're playing the game. So, and then once you've defeated something like that, you take that and you get rid of it. Now, the pathogens that you create in front of you, they stay right there. And you can use them to keep on attacking the body, which is useful. Of course, eventually what's going to happen is that the body's going to fight back, and they're going to come after those pathogens that are going to try to kill them, which is why they have a defensive. So you can see this opportunistic pathogen has no defense. It has, no ability really to defend itself. However, you can get cards, and I'll just show you like here. You can get cards like this Type 4 Pilus, and then it has little special abilities where it gives place 1+2 attack on another respiratory pathogen each turn, which means if you set up multiple pathogens, you can do that. And that's usually what you do. You don't want to set up like one pathogen. You want multiple ones so you can keep them going. And then what you do is, you might have noticed these little symbols here. You just kind of attach things like so. And so now this particular pathogen has this, Type 4 Pilus added to it. And it gains 1 defense and another 2 attack. So the next time I would attack with this, I would have 4 attack power. And then I could go ahead and I could say, well, I'm going, whatever this next card was, I could go ahead and turn that over. And, this one is a 2 as well, so we could go ahead. And you can continue to defeat multiple cards. So if somehow I had both of those together, right, and like this card was a 2, that would be 2, and then I flip the next card, that's a 2. That's 4 total. This is 4 attack. I could defeat both of those and get 4 of those particular tokens before turning over this card. And then the next one would be a 3. Obviously, I don't have enough to take that out, but the next player can go ahead and go after that as well. Alright, so, and I'll just, just for fun, let's just go ahead and replace this card and pretend that I had purchased that. And so, and not all cards are things that you add on to your pathogens or things like that. Some of them, I should show you this. Okay, and I'm jumping a little bit ahead, but let's just say this gets taken care of. This is gone, right? So, the respiratory system of this hapless person, is going to be free. It has no innate defenses anymore. Those have been destroyed. So now the body is going to actively try to fight back against what we're doing to it. Now the person that destroys this particular thing, the immune system immediately attacks them. Then they're the target. But later on, what's going to happen is, on your turn, when you take your turn, for every pathogen that you have set up, you're going to draw cards from the immune barrier, and they're going to attack those. And this is one of the things that's really cool about this game, is it is very real and very possible that if you are not able to deplete these tokens, and admittedly there's too many tokens in these, I'm going to say this right now, you remove a certain number of those depending on the number of players and what have you. So you might look at this like, how is it possible that I'm going to take all those tokens? 'Cause that's how you like signify the end of the game. You go ahead and get all of the tokens out of one of these little petri dishes, and then that means that the body has given up. And I mean, like, once again, kind of grim, but theoretically the person has died, because you've infected the body and you've destroyed it. But so there'd be less in here, is what I'm saying. There wouldn't be all that many. But these 2 decks of cards over there, depending upon how difficult you want the game to be, once you've finished off all of these attacks, you then take all of those and then you actually shuffle them into this set of attacks. And so then you have basically a double-sized deck, and you go through the attacks again. If you completely, after you take these cards and shuffle into that deck and you go through that deck, after you've done that, what happens is the body actually wins. It's proved itself to be immune to everybody else, everybody's like infectious diseases, everybody's attempts to destroy it, and and you all lose. Nobody wins, and the game actually beats you. And that's actually happened more than a few times, I'd like to admit, because the game can get pretty difficult, and and you can be very difficult for you to come up with ways to defeat it. But anyway, so normally what happens is, on your turn, your pathogens, once you've destroyed one of the defenses, your pathogens actually have to kind of sit there and wait for the body to attack them. And then if they survive the attacks, they then can attack the body. And so and so this respirator could attack these, and then as long as you have attacks, you're going to take 1 token out of there for every attack value that you have that's attacking that particular spot. Now, one of the ways you can get around that is that they have these cards that have this little symbol up here, and that means that it is a preemptive strike, and like with this gruesome injury, but it's an open wound. And so if you had a tissue pathogen, so like, this was red, to say it's red, you could play this on there, and you could say, this particular wound is going to attack before the body can fight fight me off. And so you could earn some tokens, and even if the body manages to destroy your pathogen that you've created, you're still going to get the points that you created because of the fact that you had a preemptive strike. So there's different cards, different things. And I'll show you some other different cards here in just a little bit, but I want to show you how the body fights back. So as I said, the body attacks when it's your turn. For every active pathogen you have, you draw one of those cards and you have an attack. And so here we have like a microphage. Now, sometimes you have situations where you can say it's one of your pathogens has an IgG or a C3 move there. Now these are these tokens like this, and there will be cards and actions that will cause those particular tokens to be placed on some of your pathogens. And so you'll look at this microphage, and if that happened, it would leap from that and it would join in the attack on another pathogen. It's not uncommon for you to be able to put a lot of cards together and create like a really, really powerful, virus or infection or whatever that is immune to a lot. But what happens is that these defenses can gang up, and so you have like multiple things. And so you can check out the attack for there, and basically all the attack has to do when it attacks your pathogen is that it has to meet or exceed the total defense that you created for your pathogen. And so in this case, there's only defense of 1. This is an attack of 4, and it would destroy this. And these would go into our discard pile. You can trash cards in this game. There is an ability to do that to thin out your deck. But these would go ahead and destroy that portion of your attack. And the thing is, remember, since normally that attack happens before you're able to have the pathogen attack, the body manages to beat you down and take you out. And so that's that's the tricky part. Like I said, you kind of get a little breather right at the very beginning of the game where you get to destroy, have at it, if you will, and kind of spend a few turns to build up your deck, your attack plan, which is really cool. It's but it also is thematically cool as well. I mean, it's one of those things that I kind of found myself just saying, yeah, it's really neat. Just like how the theme was matching the actions, and I love it when games like that do that, because it lets me buy into the theme a little bit. There's way too many deck builders out there that I played that are just like, yeah, okay, fine, this is about space exploration or whatever, and you're playing it and it's like, but ultimately it doesn't feel like I'm exploring space. It just feels like I'm adding +1, +2, +3, +1, and then seeing what happens. Whereas in this, the whole process, the whole attacking the body fighting back, it feels real. It feels like you're doing it, and I really appreciate that about this game. Bottom line, it's got all the elements of deck builders that I love, and it doesn't have the stuff in deck builders that I don't love. You can play it in multiple different ways. You can play it solo, you can play it competitively, you can play it co-op, and it's a heck of a lot of fun. But let me talk about all of that in my conclusion, which I will do now. Alright, thank you very much for taking the time to watch the how to play portion of the video. I appreciate that. So as I said towards the end of that, I did have like this thing where like when deck builders first came out and like Dominion and Thunderstone and stuff like that were like the big thing or what have you. I mean, I played them, I loved them, I had a great deal of enjoyment out of them. But deck building kind of, I made jokes at that time, and maybe they were poor jokes, but I said it seems like everybody who's got like a 2 cents worth of theme and 5 cents worth of separate card ideas has like a deck building idea in the back of their head, and there was a glut of them, and I kind of got burnt out on the whole genre of the game. So when I find a deck building game that I actually enjoy, that I actually can see those moments of brilliance and that actually can suck me in and make me enjoy what I'm doing, I really take notice, because I think I'm pretty negative about deck building in general. I think it's one of those things where I'm just not really good at the whole process of like, oh, I need like 2 of this card and 3 of this card, and I gotta make sure that I reduce like the number of like garbage cards in my hand, and like make sure that I'm always drawing this like really awesome set of cards each turn, and I would never play games like that. I just buy the cards that I thought were cool, and whatever. I mean, it isn't my favorite mechanism. We'll just leave it at that. So as I said, I really like the fact that everything about this game really just kind of made sense. You know, like it was a really good marriage of both the mechanisms of the game and the reason, and when the mechanisms were actually happening and how the mechanisms actually worked, and then it was actually like combined and made sense with the whole idea that you are a pathogen, you're a virus, you're this thing that's attacking this body, and you're trying to end its life. Now, touching on that really quick, I maybe it's just because I don't know. Lately, it's been a weird time of year, but I mean, it did feel like a really grim theme. I mean, and which is weird because I've definitely played many games in which I am killing things. I'm rolling a dice and I'm destroying those things. You're blowing up spaceships. You're shooting your opponent's soldiers and what have you. And I don't think anything of it, but maybe it was just kind of like it's a little more real, I guess, in the whole idea that you're attacking, you're ending the life of this thing. Weirdly, it reminded me a little bit of, I don't know if you guys remember this. Well, if you're old like me, maybe you do. There was a game a long time ago. I believe it was on the Intellivision system, where it was like, I think it was called Neurosurgeon or something like that. And it was totally took the whole Fantastic Voyage, again, an old movie, where you were like this little tiny nanobot or whatever flying through, and really like the theme of the game, the theme of the video game was ahead of its time, but you were this little nanobot, and you would go through the body and you'd be attacking all these diseases that were in the body and trying to save the life of this patient, and so and one of the weird things about that game is that you lost, or the game was over when the patient died. Like, you'd actually hear the heartbeat like get slower and slower, and then they die. And I remember I always thought that was really awful that like I wasn't able to save this person, this not really a person, but it was, and so I kind of got the same weird feeling when I played this. So I mean, obviously it's just a game, and I have to remind myself of that, and it's not me killing an actual person. But, the theme is a little grim, I'll fully admit. And maybe you're not killing him. Maybe you're just giving him a really bad case of the sniffles or something. And so I should really take it a little more lighthearted. But just be aware that was one of the things that kind of made me go, But, but regardless, theme put aside, first of all, theme actually added theme, as I said, awesome. I mean, I felt the theme. I felt it. I mean, it was like, it was real. It seemed all logical. And it didn't hurt that each one of these cards has like very detailed flavor text on there that isn't like really flavor text. It isn't like a quote of like the evil orc warrior or something. It's like a quote about, this is this type of virus or this pathogen, and this is what it attacks. This is how it destroys the cells in your lungs and things like that. And you're like, oh my, that's awful. So I mean, they've really done their homework with this game, and I was really impressed with it from top to bottom. Obviously some of the art wasn't there on some of those cards, so just bear in mind, but I mean, that obviously will be done once the game is published. But I found the game to be best competitively. I really enjoyed the whole race to see who could do the best job. It was solid solo. I played it a couple times solo, and obviously the team co-op, and also just like, that was really good as well. But I think it shines in the competitive version. It was a lot of fun. I love, as I said, that like giant deck of cards with all the different things in there. I love that in my deck building games, and I love the unpredictability of the fact that, like, you have a giant deck of the cards that the body uses to protect itself, but you only use a limited number of them, so you never really know what the body's going to be using to attack you. From top to bottom, the game was fun. It was challenging, and just really made me think a lot too about like just my own health, and like how it was weird. You always think of like, oh, I got a cold, you'd think about that, but then like I actually had to stop and think, so that's how you get a cold. It's just like you get this little virus or this little microbe or whatever that somehow gets inside your body and like stirs up this immune response. And it was kind of neat to kind of think of the biology and chemistry of the whole situation as well. So thank you, creators of this game. You made me learn something too, which is always awesome as well. So there you go. That is Pathogenesis. If you have any questions about it, ask away. I'll happily answer those to the best of my ability. Thank you very much for taking time to watch this video, and until next time, I'm the Undead Viking, telling you to have yourself one heck of an awesome day. Alright, bye-bye.